star of professional wrestling, Calgary, Alberta, Canada. This is Wrestling is for Losers, a podcast that's not fake, it's predetermined.
What's up, losers? It's me, Shoe Boots, and tonight we're taking it old school in our first ever retro episode. We've got All In happening in 1 week, and we're going to take one last look at Wembley Stadium. Sorry, I misspoke. Great. Take two. Just kidding. Too lazy to edit. Go again. With All In happening in 1 week, we're going to look at the last time Wembley Stadium had a wrestling show, and that was SummerSlam 1992. So we've all watched it, and if you haven't, you should watch it before proceeding with this episode. It's on WWE Network. And if not, whatever, just listen anyways. We could use it. Anyways, plus we're going to take a look at the All In card and a buttload of news. But first, let's meet the co-hosts. Guys, I'm torn who to start with here. There's been a lot of controversy over the last couple episodes.
Where to go?
Well, I'll tell you what I'm going to do, because last time Tex demanded to go second, and
Yes.
but I also took his advice when he demanded to go first, and that turned out horribly.
Yes.
So it's our resident WWE shield. It's Texas Crazy Horse. Hello, sir.
Oh man, I had big plans because I watched SummerSlam, and the whole time Vince wouldn't stop yelling. I was gonna come in here screaming at you guys about the turnbuckles and about the ring, but I forgot to do any of that homework and write notes. So hi guys, welcome to the show.
I'm sensing a theme here. Your intro shtick is that you talk about what you would have done if you did anything. It's great.
Maybe.
So, well, that's great, because on the opposite end of the spectrum, we've got our other co-host. He hasn't watched wrestling in 30 years, and now he's reviewing wrestling from 30 years ago. And in addition to 30 years of wrestling that happened this week, it's Coltrane, everybody.
Yes, 30 years, Boots. Since these eyes have seen the titans of the turnbuckles make mincemeat in the mat of madness, these raging rhinos rocking and rolling ringside while their retinas burn radish red. You see these people, these picturesque people of power presenting pectoral perfection, inviting you to a puberty-packed party of pain, pizzazz, and protein-pumped prima donnas. It's a boot time. These buxom, bulbous brochachos brought branded bombs and brazen beatings with weeba bite. My name is Coltrane. When it comes to wrestling, I'm all in.
Oh, man.
You've
outdone yourself, sir. Well, I mean, both of you, I would say. But
I figured it was a boot time.
It's a
right?
boot time.
I figured that was a nod to you and your Canadian heritage, Boots.
Thanks,
that was
eh?
for you, buddy.
Thanks,
That was for you, you hoser.
All right. Well, it's a jam-packed show, so we're not going to spend too much time talking about what we watched. But I'll just throw it in here, guys. Once again, Dynamite. Well, not once again. Dynamite was a crazy episode. For anyone that watched Dynamite this week, it was kind of nuts. It was all over the map. There was some really bad stuff in there. There was some really great stuff in there. There was a 5-minute skit making fun of Australians, like name dropping Crocodile Dundee and using the word crikey. And I'm not gonna lie, I loved it. So it was MJF and Adam Cole. As you know, they are challenging Aussie Open, the Australian tag team, for the Ring of Honor tag team belts in the opening match of All In. And they decided to study their opponents by going to the Outback Steakhouse. And MJF started developing a new move called the kangaroo kick. So,
oh my gosh, are you serious?
It's so good. But I will say this. I want to say this because I've been fairly criticized for cutting AEW some slack, where I don't cut it for WWE. And I'm going to own that this week. It is true. I will say that the booking for All In has not been as great as it could have been. I'm still excited about the show, but we all know they had all the time in the world to put this together, and they've really only in the last week or two kind of solidified the card, and that's a shame. But the one match that they have been building for a long time is MJF versus Adam Cole, and I got to tell you guys, we're gonna talk about All In, but I'm loving this bromance, and that's why it needs to end. We need to see, hopefully, Adam Cole stab MJF in the back at All In. That's what I'm hoping and praying for. What else, man? I watched everything. We'll get into this with the news, but SmackDown, Edge, maybe his last match, the Rated R Superstar. So that was really exciting. I'm glad I got to see him a week ago in Calgary. Although my two friends who were with me know that I happened to be getting nachos when Edge came out. So I did see him. I saw him down this corridor while I was waiting in the nacho line. I could see the ring, but that was a miss.
That was like when we were in Vegas. We were getting nachos when Statlander made her
return. Her surprise return.
Right. And I remember we were back there and I didn't know who Statlander was. And suddenly you were like, it's Statlander. And you freaked out. I was like, who's Statlander? As I'm chasing you as you're running back into the arena. It was amazing. Who's Statlander? It was awesome.
So, yeah.
Were the nachos good, though?
No, they're like 7-Eleven quality nachos.
Oof.
Yeah.
You know, being on a diet, I've been craving nachos.
Hey,
I just wanted to bring that up. Sorry.
What do you call the cheese that comes with nachos?
Nacho cheese?
That's what I call it, nacho cheese.
Yeah.
My hipster wife calls it queso.
Oh, wow. Right.
I never even heard of this before until I married her. I get like nachos same venue when we went to Collision, and I bought nachos there too. She's like, oh, queso. I'm like, what?
Right.
Cheese. I'm like, it's spicy cheese. It's nacho cheese.
No, that nacho cheese. Exactly.
Somebody pumped this out of its cylinder. This is not queso.
Right. Queso is a much higher tier of cheese than nacho cheese. That's outrageous. That's awesome.
All right. Well, I'll bring that
She's
back.
got finer taste. She's got good taste. All
right. I'll lay it to you guys. I know it's been a busy week, so I don't know if you guys were able to watch much outside of our SummerSlam assignment. But if anyone else has any other moments, please have at least one so I'm not hanging here.
Oh, well, I mean, I can go, obviously, but I think Tex should probably go.
So on my way home from coaching football, I saw two bums fighting.
Oh, geez.
That was pretty exciting. They were loud. And
Wow.
I went through a hand, and then the green light came, so I missed the rest of it. But,
yeah.
Man.
Yeah.
That was thrilling.
You know, Boots, I don't think you want to ask me what I watched. I think based on Texas's answer, you probably don't want to throw it to me.
Why?
Well, because mine was the most epic, crazy thing I think I've ever seen.
Mm-hmm.
That Hall dumped his 8-year fiance on Temptation Island for a girl he met 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks. He was engaged. They were together for 8 years. They were engaged, and he dumped her. He left her and said, I love you, to this other girl he met 2 weeks ago on Temptation Island. Hall. Never trust a guy named Hall. Never trust a man named after cough medicine. That's the lesson here. That's the lesson. Oh, you mean wrestling?
Yeah.
Oh, you want to know about wrestling?
Yeah.
Oh, well, I did see a bit of the AEW Dynamite.
Okay.
When they were doing some kind of cross promotion with Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Oh, dude, I didn't even talk about that. That was the most.
What was going on there? What was that about?
I did see that one.
Yeah, I don't know. Simon Miller, who is a popular YouTuber, said it best. He's like, I love the idea that now that Leatherface is now part of AEW lore.
Right. He's canon.
And so he's there's a statistical record of him in the match.
Leatherface. Exactly. Unbelievable. I don't know. AEW Dynamite, man. Woo. I don't know. You know, pretty crazy. Crazy cross promotion.
I will say this here. I know that every wrestling promotion is going to do these like cheesy things to get money from time to time. And we all know that they all do it. This is not AEW's first time.
Sure.
We've been pretty harsh on WWE for doing it. It's usually because they do it in the middle of a very expensive pay-per-view and they like kind of wreck a match with it. This, I would say, yes, it wrecked the match. This was not a good match, but I also appreciate that it was like kind of like from the get-go, clearly they didn't want you to take this seriously. Like they dumped fake blood on the Karen Jarrett and
Right. It was just outrageous from the top.
Yeah.
Right. Have you seen a bit of this game? I saw somebody streaming it.
No, I have not seen the game at all.
You like sneak around and then somebody made too much noise and it's like, Grandpa has awakened. And it was like, oh, and then here comes Grandpa, like slowly coming to kill you. So it's one of those, like sneak around while Leatherface and Grandpa, and you sneak around with your buddies and they try and murder you.
Okay, well.
It's real family fun.
Sounds
very
like
family friendly.
Yeah,
it's great for the kids. The kids will love it.
All right, well, we'll come back to that in a sec because we're going to talk about that match in the news. But I thought that was clearly a bad match, but it turns out it was all for charity, so that's good. But we'll get to that. All right, let's hit the news, gang. WWE news. We already talked about it. Edge is retiring. Edge celebrated his 25 years in the WWE this week. He confirmed that his contract is up at the end of September as no more scheduled matches. There is video online of him talking to the crowd after SmackDown went off the air. He would not confirm that he's had his last match, but he said this is the last match in front of you guys, referring to Toronto, his hometown, where the match was. So, yeah, I don't know. He's being really cagey about what his future is, which I'm surprised that the conspiracy wheel hasn't started spinning on the internet as much as I thought it would. But I think it begs the question, like, is he going to go do a stint in AEW before he retires or not? Like he's been WWE for life. So there's an argument that maybe he's just not that guy. But there's also another argument that like his best friend and the guy he got famous with, Christian Cage, is in AEW. And it might be great to see them do something together one last time.
Reunite.
Yeah.
He could come to AEW as Ledge.
Ooh.
Ledge.
It'll be perfect.
Ledge.
A lot of people may not know either. He was going to go to AEW when he returned.
I heard there was talk of that.
Yeah, because WWE wouldn't clear him to wrestle. So he's like, AEW will. And they're like, all right, never mind.
Never mind, you can go. Yeah, because
you can stay.
Cole probably doesn't know this, but he won the world championship and then broke his neck. And he was very fortunate. Like he didn't lose any mobility, but he was told you can't wrestle anymore. And he had to on live television surrender the title and retire, like without warning.
Oh my gosh! Wow.
In his prime, and then
9 years.
9 years later, was it 2020?
9 years he was out.
Yeah, he only came back like the year of the pandemic.
Yeah.
I think it was the last Royal Rumble before the pandemic. Just out of nowhere, his music hit in Royal Rumble, and everyone was like, "Oh my god!"
Oh, everybody must have lost their mind.
Yeah.
And then
He was crying, so I'm like trying not to cry.
yeah. So
Wow.
So it's really if he's retired, if he's done, super happy for him that he got to have like another run and do it on his terms. I know he had spoken openly that he really wanted to capture another title before packing it in because he felt like, hey, I had to surrender this title. I never even got to defend it. But it wasn't to be, unfortunately. So yeah.
Wow.
Wouldn't it be cool if he did go to AEW for a couple months, whatever, and you have Jeff Hardy, Matt Hardy, versus him and Christian,
Edge and Christian versus the Hardys one more time?
And why not bring the Dudleys too?
Yeah, they're with Impact. Oh no, one of them's done, right? Like
but then I think even Billy said they'd be down for something like that.
I would love to see it.
That would be amazing.
A short, if he's like retired, come back for a match or two. That would be amazing. And I think he should, if he can't be Edge in AEW, he should be Bono.
Oh, jeez.
Wouldn't that be good?
Yeah,
I just hope-
the U2 reference. I don't know. Ledge is pretty strong.
Ledge
Ledge is pretty
awful.
good.
Good. You stepped on my joke that I had all prep. You had a better one. And you
Sorry
said, you had a
about
better
that.
joke and you said it first.
Right. Sorry about that.
I just hope whatever happens, it's a big kind of retirement. He deserves to go out with a bang. So hopefully he gets
he's
it.
a top shelf guy, both like in terms of his career and who he is as a person, as everyone attests. So yeah,
Did he break his neck in the ring? Was it during a match?
I think it was during a match, right?
Yeah, I think
Like
over
a pile
time.
driver or something?
I don't know. It was like during the time that I didn't watch, so I don't know.
Gotcha.
But we could go back and learn more about it at some point.
Interesting.
Yeah, so not as big a deal as Edge, but also another interesting story. Lacey Evans, who Coltrane you probably don't even know, has announced she's done with WWE. A very interesting character from my perspective, because when I first started watching wrestling again a couple years ago, and I went back and watched all the Royal Rumbles, all the women's Royal Rumbles, because like, oh my God, they do women's Royal Rumbles now. I thought that this Lacey Evans character, she had it. Like, she just had it. And then they just like booked her awfully. And they like, in the year that I've been watching, they've repackaged her 2 or 3 times, and she's given 110% to each character. And then they just wrecked it, and they've gotten rid of her. So it'll be interesting to see if she's done with wrestling. It's unclear if she was offered a new contract and said no, or if they decided not to re-sign her. But I'll keep an eye on her. I think that she is a untapped talent personally. And so I hope that she continues with it. But
that reminds me of Cody Rhodes. He gave everything to the superstar or whatever, Stardust. He gave everything to Stardust, And by the way, Iron Grudge in chat says it was a bump he took on a ladder in SmackDown. That's how he broke his neck.
Oh, geez.
Yeah.
Well, I guess that was predictable. He's taking ladder bumps every other week.
Pretty spot on.
Yeah.
I would have guessed it if I had to guess. Lacey Evans leaving is probably good for her in the WWE. It clearly wasn't working.
It wasn't working for sure.
So,
but
I hope she can go off and figure something out.
She plays an awesome heel, like next level. It's just a shame because we talk a lot about how the women's roster needs to like push more people up, but it's hard to find because not a lot of women want to try this career. And then here's one who's awesome, and she's like a former Marine in real life, and they just.
Oh, this is the she's got blonde hair, right?
Blonde hair.
Yes.
Her last character.
I saw her wrestle.
Yeah, her last character they tried with her is basically like she was a Sergeant Slaughter knockoff.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. Yeah, I thought she was great. She was great.
Yeah,
but there is a point where you do 3 or 4 gimmicks in a couple of years where people just aren't going to buy no matter what.
Yeah.
When you come out.
And I blame the booking. I don't blame her. So
yeah.
I hope, but you're right. Like, you can blame the booking all you want, but at the end of the day, if they've repackaged her 3 or 4 times and it's not catching, there's not a whole lot you can do about it. Okay.
Good luck.
Finally, in WWE news, WWE WrestleMania 40 tickets went on sale, and they're reporting a record-breaking gate. They're reporting 90,000 tickets sold, which is, of course, hilarious because they're counting both days as separate tickets so that they can conveniently have sold more than All In.
Exactly.
We all see it, right?
Of AEW, exactly. But, right. We all see what you're doing here. All right, WWE. We all see it. Right.
Yeah. So, but interestingly, front row tickets started at $10,000. I myself curiously looked up how much they were at one point. I can't remember. I think I talked to you guys about it. I can't remember if it was on the show last week, but I found a package, a $20,000 package where you get front row tickets and you get to have like brunch with the wrestlers and stuff.
Wow.
So,
yeah. So the Patreon money guys need to really start picking up.
Yeah, that's true. We got to get that going. I mean, I assume, Boots, that's the tickets you got for the 3 of us, right? That's what you purchased for Tex and I?
So
all
here's
3
the thing.
of us?
I got one.
I
got one of them, and then 2 nosebleeds. So
right. Okay, got you. Right. That's for Tex and I. Right. we like the upper air,
Yeah.
Right. Higher altitude. Better view.
So I've never been to a WrestleMania. It is definitely on my bucket list. I've never been to Philadelphia, and I'm sure it's nice, but I just think I'm going to wait for a different city that my wife and I would love to vacation to before I cross that one off the list. Sorry,
Sure.
Philly.
Right. Oof. Poor Philly.
I'm sorry.
Yikes.
I hear good things
As
about
a
your cheesesteak.
cowboy,
But
as a cowboy fan, yeah, see, you can go hit rocks. So I ain't going either.
All right. AEW news, probably the biggest news of the week and super interesting. Cash Wheeler of FTR has been arrested for aggravated assault with a firearm.
Oof.
So this is a big deal because, as you know, FTR is scheduled to fight the Young Bucks for the Tag Team Championship at All In a week from tonight. And so far they've kept him billed. Collision, as of last night, still advertised that match proceeding. So it looks like he got a bail condition that'll let him leave the country. But more information has come out on this. It was he allegedly brandished a weapon and possibly pointed it at someone in traffic, like a road rage incident. Which it's odd to me that that's called assault in Florida, because in Canada that would not be assault, but it's semantics. Regardless, he's charged with a very serious crime, and he's pleaded not guilty. So we'll see what happens. But I think the big impact here is he's holding a belt, and hopefully he gets to go to London. Well, it seems like he's going to get to, but I think most people would agree that is, in most people's minds, either the second biggest or the biggest match on the card is FTR versus Young Bucks. So
right,
that would be
he's holding a belt, and he's also holding a firearm, apparently.
Yeah, you can fit right behind that.
Exactly. Unbelievable. No, that's pretty devastating. If that goes through, like, what are you gonna do? Like, that's crazy. Yeah. So we'll have to see.
I will say this: Tony Khan has made some mistakes in the past that he's lucky didn't work out horribly. At this point, I don't know what the plan was, but Young Bucks better win. You need to get that belt off this guy.
It's what I was just saying. Put all your money on Young Bucks.
Yeah, like you don't want to take chances with this and then have to relinquish the title in some. You've got this great opportunity to have them lose to a really great tag team, and it'll look good in kayfabe. So just give the Bucks the belt.
Yeah.
Also, we talked last week about Hangman.
Yes.
CM Punk cut that promo about Hangman being a peg warmer.
Oof.
Which is a lot more PG than you might think but it turns out that CM Punk has confirmed, and so has Hangman confirmed, that CM Punk apologized to Hangman via text message immediately after he was trying to be funny in the moment and realized immediately that it went too far and could be perceived as bad. So that's good. And he also was not involved at all with Hangman being sent home from Collision, and in fact wishes that it wouldn't have happened because he's been trying to run into the Elite because he wants to have a program with them. They just don't want to have a program with him. However, it has been now confirmed that several other individuals over the last few weeks of Collision's run have been sent home at CM Punk's request. Some wrestlers, including Jack Perry, Ryan Nemeth, but most alarmingly, Christopher Daniels, who is the head of talent relations, who is a friend of the Young Bucks and appears often on their YouTube series, Being the Elite. So he was, even though he's the vice president, I don't know if he's a vice president, but he's the go-to. If you wrestle for AEW, he's your point of contact. He's the guy you talk to if you got a problem. And he was barred from entering the Collision arena. I don't know if it was this last week or the week before. So there's a problem here, and I think that I'm starting.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I don't know. It's so hard to sift through what's BS and whatnot, but I really think that people that I often disagree with because they're toxic, I think they do have a point that Tony Khan really needs to kind of lock it down on this guy. CM Punk cannot run Collision like he's a mafioso. So.
Yeah, I mean, that's crazy. That's what I was wondering. What do you mean by sending people home? Like, what, to go do laundry? They're barred from. They can't even be in the building with them or something. Like wrestlers.
The word is that CM Punk is trying to keep what he calls a drama-free locker room and considers himself a locker room leader. So he is requesting that people be sent home, not be allowed there because he doesn't want their drama, so to speak.
That's crazy.
I think we need more details.
Yeah,
Because
this is the
if
problem.
they're
We are
coming
dealing with
in,
secondhand
right,
information.
if they're coming in, with really bad attitudes, and everyone, they're throwing fits,
Yeah.
maybe you don't want them in there. But
The Ryan Nemeth one is probably the one we have the most information on. Ryan Nemeth is a wrestler for AEW. He's usually on Rampage if he wrestles. He's kind of like one of their kind of resident jobber guys. But he's on Being the Elite, like the Young Bucks YouTube show. He's on it every week. He's like a mainstay. And when CM Punk came out and cut a promo on his first night and made kind of a dig at the Young Bucks, Ryan Nemeth tweeted an image of him, and the tweet said something like, "This is the softest man alive." So Ryan Nemeth publicly took a dig at CM Punk on the night he returned. So
better be careful.
yeah, I guess
You're going to end up on Impact.
I don't know, man. You got to reel this guy in. I mean,
so.
if CM Punk's saying, I'm the locker room leader, I'm doing this for a drama-free zone. When somebody thinks that they're not the problem, they're usually the problem.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? When they think that everything they're doing is right and like, oh, no, I know it's best. And all these things are happening around this guy, all this drama and craziness.
Yeah,
I think he's the problem.
This guy's the problem.
Yeah.
He's just the problem.
The problem, like you said earlier, is Tony Khan, because he's the one that's supposed to be
the buck does stop with Tony Khan. That is a fair criticism, but you also can't say nothing's his fault.
No.
I don't know.
I agree.
It's just a bummer because I like CM Punk and I want Collision to be good. And I want AEW, I want the Elite and CM Punk to have a program together. I want all these things to happen. And it just seems like CM Punk just keeps digging the hole deeper. Like every week, it's just like, okay, just no more. Just let's be cool. Let's just get through another week. Of you not
No more drama. Yeah. No more drama. Every week there's drama.
Yeah. All right. Last news story. Just we'll end on a positive note. We talked earlier about the Texas Chainsaw match. Every year, AEW does 1 week that they call Fight for the Fallen, where they raise money, usually for veterans. But this year they changed it up a bit to raise money for the food banks in Maui for the victims of the fires there. So that was really great, and it was not by accident that they decided to promote this Texas Chainsaw Massacre video game this week, because they donated all the proceeds, which were reported $100,000, directly to the Maui Food Bank. So. It's all for a good cause. So
that's great.
It's fine.
That's really, really good.
Okay.
Wonderful.
Whew. Sorry, guys. We're trucking along because we got a lot. Because before we talk about SummerSlam 1992, we do have to talk a little bit, just a little bit, because we haven't covered the build-up. This is not Double or Nothing. This is not SummerSlam 2023. But we do need to talk about what I think is fair to say at this point, confirmed, if not arguably, the biggest wrestling show of all time. And that is that is All In. It did surpass WrestleMania 32 in tickets distributed this week, making it second only to the North Korea event where they forced people to attend.
Wow.
So if you count the one where Kim Jong-il at the time forced 150,000 people to come and fill the stands and cheer for wrestlers they probably had no idea who they were. If you count that, then that's the biggest wrestling event ever. If you don't count that one, then it looks like AEW All In 2023 is the biggest wrestling event ever. And there's people arguing, well, I think this one sold this. And it's hard because WWE notoriously inflates their numbers. But I think at this point, it's fair to say that most people agree at this point, this is the best-selling one. What a big deal for a company like AEW to do it. WWE is clearly a much bigger company, and it's just a huge event. We got to talk about it. It will be probably the focus of our episode next week. So let's just touch on this. I wanted to just talk about a couple of these matches, and maybe I'll just list them off. But the main event, MJF versus Adam Cole, as I said earlier, this match needs a turn. I know, and I'm worried because I know that they're selling just a ton of shirts with these guys. and I'm worried that they're going to keep this going and drive it into the ground, and just
Right.
and like not make it good because they want to keep selling merchandise. And I can think of another story in another company that's gone on a little bit long because they want to sell shirts. And
OWO.
the NWO, yes, though the Bloodline. I think
Oh.
that like the Bloodline continues to make money. However, it will not be remembered as great as it could have been if they would have put the title on Cody Rhodes at WrestleMania 39.
Oh my gosh. There it is. There it is. We're at 30 minutes, 53 seconds. That's the marker. All right.
It's the only spot in the schedule I could see to bring it up. So I had to.
Yeah, perfect. Perfect. Excellent.
So I just want to go out a limb. We're not going to do a whole prediction show or anything like that. If you guys have any opinions on these, feel free to throw them in. But I want to see Adam Cole stab MJF in the back, keep MJF a babyface for a while, let Adam Cole win the belt, form a new faction with those lackeys in the background. Hell, bring his girl Britt Baker in on the faction. She can turn on her friends because she's an awesome heel too. This is what I want to see.
Love that. That sounds really good.
Do we know anything about All Out yet?
2 matches have been scheduled for All Out. One is for the TNT Championship. It'll be Darby Allin versus Luchasaurus. And they just announced last night Powerhouse Hobbs is going to fight Miro. Yeah, Darby Allin versus Luchasaurus.
Yeah.
That'll be crazy, hey?
Well, that's like David versus Goliath.
Yeah.
That's insane.
And they're a week apart?
Yeah, they're a week apart. I mean, that's a whole thing that I think is something we're probably going to talk about maybe next week. But, I mean, this is the choice they made. They decided to keep their Chicago show and do this one a week apart. So now they have what is historically their biggest pay-per-view of the year that has no booking because they've been booking All In. I don't know what's going to happen.
Well, I would think the main event would be shenanigans, like you said, and to set up next week's pay-per-view. That's the only thing I can think of.
Yeah, I don't know what they're going to do. I mean, presumably you want CM Punk to have a big match because it's Chicago, but
oh, it is.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen. Like they could do a match where, because CM Punk's carrying around his belt that he's calling the Real World Championship. So there's obviously got to be a moment where he and MJF consolidate these belts, right? So he's got to fight MJF. I wanted that to be at All In, but you could do it All Out. The bummer of it is that these two are so good on the mic that I would prefer to see a 2-month buildup so they could be cutting promos for weeks.
I agree. I don't think you can do that. You
I hope
got to
they don't.
use the mic skills.
Yeah, build it up for Full Gear, their November pay-per-view.
There you go.
Anyways, FTR versus Young Bucks. We talked about that.
Young Bucks.
Young
FTR.
Bucks. Yeah.
FTR. Hey, if they don't win, you know they got guns, so be careful.
Right.
True.
Yeah,
Just
probably gonna
saying.
bring him to London.
Hey,
We've got AEW Women's Championship Fatal 4-Way, which is sort of an homage to earlier Women's Championship Fatal 4-Ways, is what they're saying. But it also is just a way to feature 4 women in one match, unfortunately. But it's going to be a banger, I think. You've got Hikaru Shida, Toni Storm, Saraya, and Britt Baker. I think that'll be good. I want Hikaru to win. I think she deserves a longer run than 2 weeks.
Britt Baker, she might be the most hated person on X.
Britt
Because
Baker, really?
that's all I see is just people going in on her. So I want her to win.
She likes to argue on social media, I think. So,
That's probably why.
Yeah.
Feeding the trolls.
Yeah, there's a couple matches here people are not excited about. Kenny Omega, Adam Page, and Kota Ibushi are taking on Takeshita, Jay White, and Juice Robinson. All great wrestlers, but I think we all can agree we would rather have seen some of these people in singles matches. But the rumor is that Kenny Omega was supposed to fight Bryan Danielson, but Bryan Danielson broke his arm, so they threw him in this match. CM Punk versus Samoa Joe. Again, that would have been an awesome match if they didn't have it already in Calgary when I was there. I'm very excited about Chris Jericho versus Will Ospreay. I know a lot of people are mad because they wanted Ospreay versus Omega 3, but they just decided not to do it. But I mean, this is a dream match. Now,
The GOAT.
we do have to talk about this. This is the
Oh,
thing I'm
God.
most excited about. Stadium Stampede 3. For those of you
Woo!
that don't know, Stadium Stampede 1 and Stadium Stampede 2 were done in empty Jacksonville Jaguars football arena during the pandemic. If you have a way to watch these are one of the most greatest things ever to happen to the visual arts. It like
Wow.
not wrestling, not television, not media, just the art of seeing things with your eyes. That's the category that is in the greatest of.
Wow.
So they're doing a third one. There will be people in the arena, which if I'm being honest, will probably make it not as good as it could be with some of the crazy stuff they did in the other ones. But what's really excited about this is so you've got your Blackpool Combat Club, fine. And then you've got on the other side, you've got Best Friends and Orange Cassidy. You've got Eddie Kingston, who I love, and you've got the Lucha Brothers. And then 3 mystery people are going to join the Blackpool Combat Club. I was going to put my money on Edge, but then he said his contract's not up till September. So it won't be Edge. But maybe Goldberg.
Oh,
I don't know.
or Ledge.
Or Ledge. Lacey Evans.
Oh, there you go.
That's true.
I don't know who it could be.
I don't know either. I have no idea who it's going to be. I hope it's like a big surprise. Because they could just like grab, it's this guy from New Japan, great, and people be happy. But like, I want it to be just like, I had not expecting that. So
Yeah.
we'll see what happens.
So the Ring of Honor Tag Team Championship match.
Yeah.
That is Adam Cole and MJF, right?
Yes.
And that's supposed to be the first match of the night?
Yeah, it's the buy-in. So like an hour before All In officially starts, there's going to be one match, and it'll be Better Than You, Bay challenging Aussie Open for the tag team championships. And then they're bookending the event. They're wrestling the first match and the last match of the night.
All right. Tony Khan, now listen here. That's where the turn should happen. Adam turns on him on that match. They lose. But they still fight at the end of it.
Oh.
But one of them's going to be hurt. I don't know who it's going to be. They're going to be limping, and that's the reason they're going to lose. And then you can set out all out for that.
Yeah, I think this match, something needs to happen in this match to set up something. But there needs to be a double turn, right? Something needs to be like an, oh my God, like what's happening here? And then there needs to be another turn in the actual match later.
Because if you do it on the buy-in, like we're saying, I know me, I'll get excited and be like, oh, now I have to buy the pay-per-view.
Yeah.
Because I want to see what happens.
Yeah.
I like it.
So yeah, that's the card. Pretty good. I think they're going to probably add a couple more matches this week. There's a couple notable absences from the card if you're trying to show the best of the best of your team. Like, I don't see Ricky Starks here. I don't see Christian Cage. I would like another women's match. We only have one women's match. So maybe Statlander should defend the TNT championship. So
I love Statlander. More Statlander, please.
Statlander.
Woo!
All right.
Getting them nachos.
All right, guys, I feel good. We've kind of rapid fired our way to our weekly discussion, so we have some time to breathe and talk about this.
Woo-hoo-hoo!
Folks, this is the moment we're going to talk about SummerSlam 1992. If you haven't watched it, go watch it. It might be more fun to listen to us talk about it. If you can't be bothered, please listen anyways then. But I made notes. Where's my
Please clap. Please clap.
Please clap. Guys, I mean,
right? Where do you begin?
where do you begin?
Where do you begin?
Cole, you message on our Discord conversation. You're like, I'm having flashbacks. I want to know, like, is this your era? Is this after your era? Like where does Little Coltrane fall?
Oh
into
my
this?
God, Little Coltrane. Oh my gosh, there were so many moments, like even the Legion of Doom with the football pads. So as a kid, I never knew their name. I just knew they were the guys with the football pads and the spikes, that would come out with the.
We were doing it before the show, and that's when my voice got all crackly, and I drank water, and I've been choking ever since.
Right, exactly. But it was there's so many. Oh my gosh. I had this complete nostalgic, just like I could not believe what I was watching. and seeing, Ted DiBiase and the Millen, and then seeing Mr. Perfect, and seeing like all these people that and even like Jimmy Hart,
The mouth
with the
of the
megaphone.
South, Jimmy Hart.
Yeah,
Get him,
that's
baby.
right.
You got him, baby. We got him where we want, baby.
Yeah, I couldn't believe it. I just, from the nostalgia side, I was completely freaked out seeing the Ultimate Warrior again, who was clearly juicing. That guy is twice the size of everybody else, like unbelievable. But no, and just like seeing him and Bret the Hitman Hart and the British Bulldog and all these amazing, incredible names, and seeing them come to life again, and seeing them now as an adult with these 30-year-old eyeballs, from 30. I mean, I'm 22 years old, of course, naturally. I just got gray hair very early. But
you were struck by lightning.
I was struck by lightning, yes, which has got me worried about this hurricane coming to California here. I could be struck by lightning again, but maybe I'll become Electro. So we'll see. But yeah, so that was me with the nostalgia side. Just incredible. Now, Tex, did you feel any nostalgia? Did you watch wrestling when you were younger? Did you have any of these flashbacks?
Like, this predates your existence, right?
Oh, no, good point.
I was born in April. So I was still, I was already watching wrestling.
You were born in April of 92?
92. So I was, by that time, I'm already going, what?
Right. So right. His first words was,
yeah, it came out of the womb. What a rush.
What a rush. Exactly.
So unbelievable. I would say I know not 80% of these people. Throughout the years and stuff. So it was fun to go back and watch these. But there's some things in here I was like, what is going on? Like, I would just say Ultimate Warrior's outfit. Ultimate Warrior's outfit, that is the ugliest thing I've ever seen. And I just couldn't stop staring at his muscly suit.
Yeah, it was like his symbol. He was wearing like a spandex onesie that was a print of like the muscle that you would see under his skin. It was so weird.
Bad.
Yes. So bad. With his Ultimate Warrior mask on his butt, right there. It was insane. Now this is an interesting thing that just occurred to me. So for Tex, so for Boots and I, this was nostalgia, right?
Yeah, like we know these guys from our childhood. So how does I'm sorry.
Yes. No. Go on.
We're thinking the same thing, right?
Yes. Go on. Go on.
How does someone like Tex or someone from Gen Z or whatever, who is a fan of wrestling, connect to these guys that we just inherently know because they were pop culture of our life? Do you hear of them as legends? Do you go have you at some point in your life gone back and educated yourself about these people?
Yes, and it's kind of like AC/DC. AC/DC's way before my time. But their name, their music's still around. You still hear about them. WWE brings up most of these guys pretty regularly. And obviously watching like Dark Side of the Ring, telling stories about most of these people.
Right.
And going back and watching all Royal Rumbles and just seeing the differences from back then to now.
Yeah.
And there's 92, but a lot of these guys wrestled for another 10, 15 years.
That's true. Yeah. Like a lot of these guys were around for quite a while after this.
I caught them at their old age, but I still seen them. Just, it was cool to go back and see them when they're in their prime.
I guess, yeah, because you're probably you're like 8 to 10 years old during the Attitude Era, at which point everybody's watching wrestling. So I could see how you would know a lot of these guys because they were kind of on their way out during the Attitude Era.
Right.
Now, I will say this, and you don't have to guess yet. I just want you to think about it. 4 people from the show don't make it in the company for another 3 months.
So you're saying 4 people from the show are gone from the company within 3 months of this show?
Yes. I want to see if y'all can guess who the 4 are.
Oh, that's a fun little that's a fun little trivia game. Okay. Yeah. Now, you were talking about Legion of Doom, Coltrane. I have a Legion of Doom story. I went to a house show that year in 1992. I'm pretty sure. As a 12-year-old kid, I went to a house show in Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, and it was a lot of these wrestlers, and it was like kind of like in between Royal Rumble and WrestleMania. And I might be misremembering, but I think the main event of WrestleMania that year was Macho Man versus Ric Flair. I think that was the year Ric Flair won the title at the Royal Rumble, and then he lost the title to Macho Man at WrestleMania. I could be misremembering, but I do remember that the main event of the house show that I went to was Macho Man versus Ric Flair. And
Wow.
yeah, and they were probably just practicing up for their big WrestleMania show because it's 1992 and it's a house show, and nobody is ever going to know what ever happened there,
Right?
because they don't understand that the internet's about to change everything. But but my mom gave me $30. She dropped me and my brother off. So I was 12, my brother was 10, and this is classic 80s parenting, right?
Yes.
You're 12, you're 10. Here's some money. I'm going to drop you off at the arena downtown. I'll pick you up. You don't have a cell phone. You can't, here's a quarter if you need to call. Or right, but
right.
I'll just come get you in 3 hours.
Right. Yes. Or by sundown.
Yeah,
right.
What?
Just
look for my car when you come outside later. Right?
Yes. Very 80s parenting.
Yeah.
You're not wrong.
I was entrusted with the $30, and that was for snacks. That was for food. And let me preface this by saying I wasn't even a Legion of Doom fan, but but the Legion of Doom came out, and they were meeting with people, signing autographs and stuff. Different wrestlers were coming out at different points and meeting the kids, and I saw that styrofoam Legion of Doom armor set that you might have seen in the background, and it was, if I remember correctly, it was $22, and I was like, I got enough money for that thing.
Oh no!
And I had a conversation with my brother about hey, we could just not eat, and we could buy some cool stuff.
Oh, jeez, right?
And he agreed to it, and I kind of talked him into buying something that cost $8 so that I could get the $22 foam.
Perfect. Yes.
Oh, I got in trouble for that later.
Yeah, that did not go good. That did not go good. It's amazing.
Yeah. So,
I have a. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
No, was there more to it?
No, I was going to move on, but if you got a story.
Well, I wanted to answer Tex's question because I have some ideas on who could no longer be there. Okay, number one, Crush. I think he was gone, or is he still in WWE?
Hey, he made it past 3 months. I don't know how much longer.
All right, number two, Nails.
Nails did not make it. He actually, so Vince gave him the check for SummerSlam. It was $9,000, and he got so mad that it was so low. He picked him up and choked Vince and threw him on a chair, and obviously got fired.
What was
that really happened?
That really happened.
Was he a method actor?
Hey.
Did you see Nails in that match? That guy looked pretty intense. I don't think that was
look
acting.
up if that was Kane. It wasn't.
Right.
Right. I did. I paused and was like, that kind of looks like Kane.
Yeah.
Right.
It kind of did.
Yeah.
Poor Virgil. His promo was pretty bad, but I was like, ooh.
Virgil was my main guest that came to mind because I know that he was a guy that they tried to push as a singles guy and it just didn't work, and he didn't last long.
Yeah. My other one is, I was curious when you were watching this for the first time. I just wanted to add, this is a side note. What did you think of the Bushwhackers?
Oh my God.
Bushwhacker,
Bushwhacker.
Right? Yes, exactly. What did you think, Tex, of the Bushwhackers?
Do you know who the Bushwhackers are, first of all? Okay.
I wanted to fast forward it. I really thought about it. I was like, no, I got to do research for the show. I will sit here and watch this garbage.
Their promo about how they've been invited to Buckingham Palace.
Yes. It's insane.
The only bummer about that is that they cut away from Mean Gene too early, because usually when those two do a promo with Mean Gene, they lick his bald head at the end. There's lots of videos of that on YouTube.
Well, I got to say one thing that I really noticed, and I'm curious, Tex, if you felt this as well, is watching it now, 30, or 5 years later. Well, anyway, it doesn't matter. How over the top the characters were.
Yeah.
Every single character was like an 11. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Completely over the top, like bushwhackers, and they're missing their teeth. They had the guy who was the African tribesman who was wearing the whole outfit thing.
Kamala.
Yeah, Kamala. That was way over the top. Every single person, it was like an 11. There was no subtlety to the WWE at that time.
I don't think Kamala would work today. I don't think they would do that one today.
No, not so much. But so and another thing that I would say that actually really impressed me watching this were the mic skills and the promo skills. I thought of every single person was phenomenal.
Ooh.
I thought, yeah, go ahead, Tex.
I disagree.
Really?
Who wasn't good?
I thought they were fine, but every one of them just screamed at you.
Well, that's true.
Even
Yes,
Vince was screaming at me the whole time.
Yeah, even Vince, who was the straight man commentator,
right?
But I totally agree with you, Coltrane. Like, these are people that are not searching for, like, there's a lack of confidence that you see in these younger wrestlers today.
Yes,
and
yes.
it's just there, whether you like it or not, and it's not a burn. Like, you can chalk it up to like inexperience, to like being new, and on the WWE side of things, it could be kind of a struggle with lines, and on the AEW side of things, it could be a struggle with improvising. But it's there, and it's just not there in this old stuff.
Yeah,
and maybe it's because it's simpler. Like, if you're like the Nasty Boys, like you don't really have much depth to your character, right? Like, you're a nasty boy. Like you just
yeah, right.
I gotta get ya. Like
yeah. But even like Bret the Hitman Hart, like his mic skills, how he like kind of went through the script and talked about, like, was incredible. And the British Bulldog, I thought, was also incredible. And then you got Ric Flair, who's screaming and going crazy. But it's all over the top. Everything was at an 11. But I was floored. I thought everyone was like a superstar on the mic.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Well, a lot of these guys, to agree with you a little bit, a lot of these guys were the top dog on their indie promotions, not indies, but the territories. So they had to work these mic skills. But man, it was a lot of yelling.
It was, but that was kind of the time,
Yeah, I think that's more of like an artifact of that time of wrestling than it is of their skills. But yeah, no, I'm totally with you, Coltrane. Like, it's a totally different situation, and I think Tex makes a good point. It probably is that, like, these are wrestlers that came up in the old system, that they got a ton of experience before they were ever on television, which just doesn't happen anymore.
Interesting. So you're saying that you think it's rushed more now than it was back then?
I think so, very much.
Yeah,
and I think it's like, it used to be, oh, you want to wrestle? Like, you'll just go learn on the road, and you'll just work for pennies, and you'll like, oh, you have a car? Well, that means you get to wrestle because this guy needs a ride. Like that's how you whereas like now people are like, oh, I'm going to spend $10,000 going to a training school, and then I'm going to or like the WWE, for better, for worse, some people think it's great. I am not a fan of it. They do it all in-house now, right? Like, they go to colleges and they recruit people to their performance center who'd never even thought about becoming a wrestler. And then they train them right there. They raise them up. They put them on NXT, and they sink or swim and go from there.
Right.
But the indies, I think there's way less people doing it than there was back then. I'd be willing to bet.
Yeah. I was just floored by how well they did. Now, I actually have a quick question about Shawn Michaels, if you don't mind. Yes. Now here's the thing. What you just said, Tex, so good. Shawn Michaels. Shawn Michaels is a name known forever. I know Shawn Michaels, right? But he's the one wrestler that somehow has eluded me. I know Bret the Hitman Hart, by the way, phenomenal match with him and British Bulldog. Unbelievable. Here's my question about Shawn Michaels. I've heard people say that Shawn Michaels is the greatest ever. People have used that in the sentence. I've heard people say Shawn Michaels is the greatest wrestler of all time. He's better than Hogan. He's better than anybody. It's Shawn Michaels. Here is my question. Why? Why is Shawn Michaels, and I'm not downing Shawn Michaels, but why is he held to such this S tier? Why is he an S tier wrestler? Why is he this on the Mount Rushmore of great wrestlers? They always mention Shawn Michaels. Why? Why Shawn?
I don't know if you know anything like baseball when they say it's a 5-tool player, as in like they have everything. They're a master of all the skills.
Right.
He's been that since the very beginning, and he just never stopped being that.
Mhm.
Now, I will say when he had his first championship run, it wasn't very good, but he's always put on great matches. Some of the greatest matches of all time, him and Undertaker, him and Bret Hart. So whenever someone thinks of greatest matches, he's always involved somehow, or one of the top matches. And he's been doing it forever. He was doing it for 20-something years.
Yeah.
And he was on top the whole time. And he's the biggest jerk at this time. He was the biggest jerk in the locker room and still being able to get over the way he was.
Yeah,
everyone hated him.
I would add to
back
that.
then.
I think he was wrestling's first bad boy.
Yeah.
Really?
That's a good way to put it.
Like I would say he doesn't get the credit he probably deserves for being the catalyst of the Attitude Era. Like he was I mean, even in this episode, like you saw the beginning, like it's all kids. Like that was like one of the opening, like the cheesy little like like all the kids outside and in the crowd, like it's all kids, and it's like same era that my mom dropped me off. Like there's not even parents with their kids; they're just dropping their kids off at the show. It's
right, they're all by
kids.
themselves.
Yeah,
right? It's just kids everywhere.
Kids.
Right, not a parent in sight.
Yeah,
right.
and so they're marketing themselves to kids, and then here comes Shawn Michaels, and yeah, early on he was with Sensational Sherry a lot, and again, like they're making comments like she's got her ass showing in here, and it's kind of like by today's standards, who cares? But like by those days' standards, like oh my goodness, and and he was he's like what I would add to like him being a jerk. He was not only a jerk, but he was a jerk that Vince loved. So he could get away with being a jerk, and he often had Vince's ear for what to do with the title scene. So,
well, it's an interesting point, Tex, and Iron Grudge in the chat too. You had mentioned about all the great matches have Shawn in them. I mean, he's saying watch Bret versus Shawn, Iron Man, Shawn versus Raider Ladder match, Shawn versus Undertaker WrestleMania. Like it and there it is. Like, you know what I mean?
He was the first leader of Degeneration X, which was like took over Earth. He and here's another thing that I think he gets credit, and particularly with that Shawn Michaels versus Razor Ramon. At this time, this is totally different than today's wrestling, but at this time, WWE didn't want to hire you if you were under 6'2", under 200 pounds. They wanted big boys. They wanted big, burly men. And here comes Shawn Michaels, and he's basically just big enough for Vince to say, okay. And so he's by today's standards, maybe not so much, but by those standards, he's a high flyer. He's doing crazy stuff that nobody's used to seeing on a WWF stage. Right. Sure, if you go into like a luchador arena, you're going to see that stuff. But like little kids like me who don't know anything about wrestling except what's on Saturday morning, he's doing crazy stuff,
Yeah. And that's how I remembered Shawn Michaels. I remember him being a high flyer, like jumping off the ropes, didn't he wear like white boots or something at one point? Or am I thinking it's somebody else? I'm probably thinking it's somebody else.
I mean, he wore white clothes.
He often wore white.
Oh, okay. Maybe, yeah. But I remember him being a high flyer. And I always know that name, like Shawn Michaels, like amazing. But you're answering my question, and I love this, just hearing about him.
He was also a really great salesman. Like and we even saw it in this, like he sells moves. He'll go flying over the ropes out of there for you, whereas another wrestler might just like go, like he'll make it look good. And there's even some funny moments where he oversells it because he didn't like the person he was dealing with. Like he had to wrestle Hulk Hogan once, and like he didn't think much of Hulk Hogan, so Hulk Hogan would hit him, and he'd just be like, "Wah!" Like just go crazy.
Now I want to give Shawn his due for being one of the greats, but he also popularized the worst move in wrestling now, the super kick.
The super kick.
Oh, God, I'm so sick of the super kick.
The reason everybody has a super kick today is because everyone who's at their prime today is at an age where they grew up watching Shawn Michaels.
Yeah. You're kidding.
Yeah.
No.
That is why it was Shawn Michaels.
Shawn Michaels.
He didn't call it the super kick. He called it sweet chin music.
Oh, so could he get on the side of the rope and like bang his foot?
Yeah.
Oh,
So
that's
interesting
awesome.
fact, because I did my research and I actually wrote these one down. The main event was supposed to be Shawn and Bret Hart in a ladder match, and this is where Shawn Michaels was supposed to take the belt. But when they moved the event to Wembley instead of Washington, Bret Hart's like, "Oh, I got to give it to my brother-in-law."
Well,
wow.
I mean, it was really noteworthy that the main event was the Intercontinental Championship.
Yeah, it was a good decision.
It was probably a good decision, but on paper, it's funny to look at this and some of the choices here and think about if Twitter existed then, what people would have taken a dump on, right? Like you had two face versus babyface matches, right? You had the Ultimate Warrior versus Macho Man, and you had Bret Hart versus British Bulldog, and then you had a heel versus heel match. You had Shawn Michaels versus the model Rick Martel. Like,
right.
Those are things that like everybody, like every armchair wrestling booker would be like, you're not supposed to do that. That's bad booking, Tony Khan. Right? Like,
Right.
Oh, Vince must be talking to Triple H. That was a bad decision. Like, that's what you get today.
Right. Sure.
So it's interesting. But yeah. And there was a few like, why is Virgil fighting Nails at Wembley Stadium? Like, why is this?
Right.
Why is this TV level match here? I don't know.
Right. And then Crush fighting the Repo Man.
The Repo Man was at Wembley. This guy's he's a jobber. He just shows up to lose.
He's the ultimate jobber.
I love that Repo Man got to be at Wembley. That's a great thing.
Right.
Now, so I'm watching this. I'm having a pretty good time. And then when The Undertaker came out, I was so happy. That's my guy.
Oh, yeah.
That's my GOAT. And God, he was so good.
I loved it because my favorite commentator probably of all time is Bobby the Brain Heenan. So I was very excited that we got Bobby and Vince, and he had a lot of good zingers the whole night.
Yes.
But the one that really got me was when Undertaker came out and he's like, what's wrong? Look at that idiot. The steering wheel's on the wrong side of that hearse. Like,
right.
And he kept saying, like, look at him. And Vince's like, no, I don't want to look at him. I was like, you got to look at him. It's hilarious. That's some really good zingers. You're right.
They did. And speaking of the announcers, I didn't realize how great Mean Gene Oakland is.
Oh, my God.
Oh.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a legend. It's like, oh, my gosh, it's Mean Gene. But when you watch him now as grown up, what a pro. What an unbelievable pro he is. Incredible.
Yeah. It's just awesome.
Yeah. His interview skills,
no
everything.
No one in that role has ever come close.
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right. Oh yeah, he was just unbelievable, and the ring announcers also were incredible. But it was a heck of a show to watch, man, and it was great seeing Ultimate Warrior again and Macho Man. Oh my gosh, Macho Man.
Macho was great. He was great in that match.
All right, let's do a quick run through some of these, and make sure we give them their attention because I don't want to run out of time on this. So we talked about Legion of Doom and defeats Money Inc. And just a great opening match. Ultimate heel versus an ultimate babyface team. IRS gets on the mic and tells the British crowd, because of you cheapskates, the burden falls on the royal family to pay for that. Just perfect.
Right. And it was great seeing IRS. Like, I remembered IRS. I remembered that guy. Yeah. Just awesome.
When Doom came out, Legion of Doom came out, and those motorcycles is so cool. What was that puppet?
I don't know.
Oh gosh, the
ventriloquist manager? I don't know what that. I don't remember. That must have been like a thing that they did for a little while or something.
I don't remember that either. That was insane.
It is sort of interesting to like pluck this one event out of the timeline and watch it and not really have seen any of the buildup. So you get a few moments like that. Like, what the hell is this going on here?
Right. Yeah. No, it just didn't make any sense. Didn't make any sense at all.
Hey, I know what would be really great for these motorcycle badasses that wear spiked armor. What if they had a ventriloquist manager?
Right. Yeah, exactly. Right. And they roll up to the ring and they're just eating burnt toast. They're just like way over the top. Like it's toast, but it's burnt. Like just insane. Yeah, no, it was crazy. It was crazy. Crazy match to watch. Just awesome.
So great opener. I think we can. I don't want to speak for you guys. That Nails versus Virgil. I was like, what the hell is going on? I never even heard of this guy Nails, and I think I heard of everyone else on this entire card. Like I was familiar with everybody on this card,
right?
Except for this guy Nails,
Nails,
who's like wearing his prison jumpsuit in England.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like he's like.
Yes. And he looked like a straight up like serial killer. Like he looked legit. You know, like we were saying earlier, he was a method actor. Chat room was saying he was a meth actor. I think that might be the case.
Yeah.
Nails. Like what?
So
yeah, Nails was intense.
It does. I mean, it does like kind of bring you back to this simpler time of booking. This is like good, but like, okay, we're opening with a banger that's not a title match. That's like the old school booking, right? Don't open with a title match, which is harder to do these days because there's 14 titles. Back then there's like 2. And so you open with a banger that's not a title match. Then you do a quick one. And again, good guy win, bad guy win. And now we can get into some depth. We're 2 in. Let's do Rick Martel versus Shawn Michaels. Woo! Which I thought was a great match. I thought I loved Rick Martel's model character. These two just arrogant.
Oh, so good.
And I got it like Sensational Sherry is like this unsung hero because she will do anything. Like I've read interviews about how the wrestlers like I don't even know if she's still alive. I don't know her deal at all, but like she is fondly remembered as like, you know, whenever they were doing these bits with like a woman like Elizabeth, they were always very dainty, and you need to be careful around them. They're here to look good. But Sensational Sherry's got wrestling training. Like she'll take a bump, like and like the part where they just kept dropping her while they're hitting each other. Like
she kept like everything. They're like, oh my god. They're like, and even the announcers like they're gonna have to roll her out of here. Like she was getting like clothesline like every 2 minutes. She got water dumped on her. I was like, this poor woman. This is unbelievable. And she's like laying there, like, oh, she's passed out. She's passed out. You know. And the camera was like right there. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah. She took some shots, man. She took some shots during this show. Unbelievable.
Brave to do a double count out at a SummerSlam show, and it wasn't the only count out of the night. So like pretty brave, but there it was. You never see that.
I know we're not following the story, but I was kind of okay with the double count out. I didn't think it was a bad way to end it.
No, it was like, and it was one of those things like the vibe I get is like, this is not a normal match, right? It's a heel versus heel. There's this like questionable love angle. The beauty of it is it's like she's a heel too, right? Like they're all heels, and they're like so. And yeah, I think it worked. It worked really well for me. Like I remember my initial reaction when I watched this match was like double count out, and then I realized like, oh, that's like my conditioning from 2023. Let's put that away for a sec. Did I enjoy that? Yes, I did enjoy that.
Yeah. And the focus was that she was Shawn Michaels' girlfriend, but then she was making eyes at the model Rick Martel, and he was interested in her and vice versa. So there was like this kind of love triangle thing happening during the match, which resulted in each one of them carrying her out while they were getting tackled, and she'd fly to the ground, and then the other one would pick her up, and they get tackled. Like, oh my gosh, it was unbelievable. And then they're like, it was great.
They're trying to revive her. One's about to do mouth to mouth, and the other one's doing like pumping her chest.
Right. It was insane.
It's so stupid.
It's fantastic. It was very 1992. It was brilliant.
I love me a goofy wrestling match. Speaking of goofy wrestling matches, next we had the Tag Team Championship. The Natural Disasters successfully defend against the Beverly Brothers.
Ooh. Now,
Coltrane, I think you mentioned that you were excited to see the Natural Disasters.
Yes, because these are some big boys. I got to tell you that the bodies have changed from wrestling back then to wrestling now. Back then, some of the guys a little chunky, some extra fat here and there,
Go ahead.
I feel like the roster of like the 80s and early 90s is you had like on one side of the room these like Arnold Schwarzenegger fans, right? Like they're like at Gold's Gym, they're like buffing up, they're
Right.
roiding out, and they've all got and they're all just like head to toe in baby oil. It's lucky that they don't slip on the way into the ring. And then on the other side, it's like we went to a Flying J and we grabbed like
Right.
we grabbed 18 guys.
Right. You and you. Come here. Get in the back of the van. We're going. We're going to WrestleMania.
Just
Right.
some big guys that like you wouldn't want to like pick a fight with at a bar. Like that's basically.
Yeah. It was like the extras on the movie Roadhouse. And they're like, yes, you and you come in. Yeah. No, there's been a definite change. But yeah, these were some big boys. Now let me ask you this. Tex, are these guys, are they the fourth? Are they the fourth that are no longer with WWE? No, they're still in it.
Actually, Earthquake was, I mean, he's done some pretty big Royal Rumble spots.
Yeah.
Their cardio is god awful in this match. And
Yes.
They're just there because they're big hosses, right? Like that's it.
And this is the match where I started noticing Vince and stuff would get like really excited about moves you see like 27 times a match that we don't care about. Like someone jumped off the top rope and Vince is losing his mind.
Yeah.
But that's an everyday move now.
Yeah.
No one cares about that. This is when I started noticing the simpleness of back then.
Yeah, and like a body slam is pretty devastating back then, right?
Yeah.
His finisher, which he would try and do, like go to the rope, go to the other rope, and like laying his butt on the guy, but he's also moving at 0.5 miles per hour, so there's no way it hurt him whatsoever.
Right.
I enjoyed it though.
And and it's also fun to see those belts. Those, in my opinion, those are the best tag team belts.
Yeah.
The best.
Beautiful.
Honestly, the best iteration of every belt is this era, right?
Yeah.
So yeah. And then we've got Crush defeats the Repo Man. Now Crush, I remember Crush. I don't remember ever caring about Crush, but I remember seeing Crush. And when I look at him today, I'm like, oh, wow, that's like if Dave Coulier got into wrestling.
Right.
I thought he had a good look.
He's a big boy, too. He's like 6'8", 6'9", something like that.
It seems like he had the right look and they hired him, but it nothing became of it, so he didn't last. That's the vibe I get off him. Like,
yeah.
I will say, of the people in this match, I knew more about Repo Man than him.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Totally.
Same.
But he and Shawn Michaels also had that really unique haircut that you don't really see much anymore, which is like, I'd say it's probably a category of mullet, but it's basically like, it's like, we're going to cut your entire head to about 1.5 inch length all around, front to back, except for the very back. We're going to perm it and we're going to grow it out 2 feet.
Exactly. Right. Perfect. Perfect. Yes. That's exactly right. You know, I think we need to bring that back, boys.
Right.
You don't know what we need to bring that back. Looks like you don't know what's back here.
That's true.
Maybe Tex is working on it.
He's got the ponytail in the back.
Do you got a crimper?
Right, exactly.
That's for the Patreon to find out.
That's awesome.
Oh man. And then just again on paper, so weird.
Yes.
I looked at the runtime. We were within minutes of halfway through the runtime of the event, which by the way, we didn't even talk about this. The entire SummerSlam 92 at Wembley Stadium, I believe, was 2 hours and 46 minutes runtime. Now, I did read that one additional match was in it that was cut out. Apparently Tatanka fought someone and it was cut for time, which is weird. Does that mean like this was never live, or maybe like we're seeing the home video version of it?
No, I don't know what you read. What I read, there was 13 matches, and the videotapes in Europe has all of them. The America was on a delay, like a 2-day delay, and we got less.
Okay.
So.
either way, I mean, wrestling shows are like 5-6 hours these days. Like, I just think like maybe you don't need to go down to 2 hours and 46, but less is so much more. You know what I mean?
Well, but also keep in
100%.
mind that the pay-per-views now, it's labeled as 4 hours, 5 hours, but 2 hours of that is just them talking about it before it even starts, it seems like.
Yeah, that's true.
So much is like, so who do you think's going to win? I don't know. Let's go to Tony. Hey, Scott, what do you think? You know, it's just all this pre-show. Yeah. So it could be actually probably the same amount of actual wrestling because this started with them coming out. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I'm telling you, if you chop off the first hour or two of all the pre-show stuff, it might be about the same.
Yeah. Now there was a weird build-up to this match that they'd been kind of doing with promos throughout the night. That like they're
Super
teasing
weird.
that Mr. Perfect was going to be in one of their corner, and I feel like we just missed something for not watching TV leading up to this. But it was weird, and they've got Lord Alfred Hayes in the back trying to get into these locker rooms. Got Mean Gene interviewing Ric Flair, who's like not saying anything
Right.
except just being awesome Ric Flair.
Yes. And the whole thing is that whose corner would Mr. Perfect be in? In other words, who sold out to Mr. Perfect? Was it Macho Man or was it Ultimate Warrior? Who sold out? Who took the check? Who made all this money? Who took the check?
I feel like the missing piece was, and maybe it was said and I just missed it, but I feel like the missing piece that we were supposed to understand was that Mr. Perfect at some point had announced that that one of them had that somebody had paid him off and he was going to be in their corner. And then I guess the swerve is that, well, it was actually Ric Flair who walked into the match.
Right.
Weird.
Yeah, that was the big setup, and they kept teasing it like crazy. And I'm guessing maybe if I was a kid, I'd be like, "Ooh, whose corner is going to be in?" But I was like, "Boy, they're putting a lot of airtime to this. Whose corner is Mr. Perfect gonna be in? We're gonna find out soon."
And it was just a weird match because they came up with a way to protect both of them. Ultimate Warrior won by count out, which isn't really a win, but he gets the victory. But Macho Man gets to keep the title. Like it was really just like. This is like we've figured out a way to have this match and not hurt either of these, but also unfortunately not help either of these two either. And maybe they don't need it because they're Macho Man and Ultimate Warrior. But I guess like if I am going to like critique something here, this was just like a poorly booked match. It was just weird.
Did you see that count out was so quick?
Yeah, the count outs were fast.
All of the count outs.
Yeah.
So quick. I was thinking like they've really slowed it down now, and I think it's so much better. It was so quick. It was 1, 2, 3. Like you had to kick out immediately.
But you know what, Coltrane? I think we talked about this like maybe in our first ever episode. You know what? We did get slowed down. The knockouts. We got the 3-hand drop.
Yes.
Oh yes.
Yes.
I miss it.
Yes.
Someone's
Yes.
in a sleeper. We're gonna drop their hand 3 times. To make
Rocky
and always
was
the third one.
at
It's
it.
like
They hold it and shake, and the crowd goes wild.
Yeah.
Yes. Amazing.
But it turns out that if you do a sleeper to somebody, you're cutting blood circulation to their brain, so you could be causing brain damage while they're lifting the hand 3 times. So that's turns out they don't. That's why they don't do it anymore.
Oh, no kidding. Oh, the things we learned in the 80s, right. They're like, Ultimate Warrior died, I think, at age 55, and so did Macho Man, something like that.
Of all the clearly fake things that we just accept in wrestling, I don't know why that's the one that we decided, like, no, this needs to be more realistic.
Yeah, guys, come on. Right? Yeah, exactly.
This is getting a bit ridiculous.
Right. This is insane. Well, it was interesting. I actually looked up that Macho Man and Ultimate Warrior, they passed away pretty early. They were pretty young.
Yeah, Macho Man died in a car crash.
Yeah.
And actually,
was it a car crash? I thought it was heart disease.
I thought he had a heart attack while driving on a highway and then had a car crash. So he, depending on how you looked at it, he either died by heart attack or car crash or both. But
I know the Ultimate Warrior, he finally made up with the WWE. They put him in the Hall of Fame, and he died the next day or two.
You're kidding.
Yeah.
Wow.
But evidently, he that last day or two, he really changed. He apologized. It was really nice to people.
Of just saying some really weird stuff. Well,
Yeah.
it's funny. He probably would have been famous for what he said today online, but at the time he was like considered really out there.
Yeah, it was amazing too, looking through, scrolling on my remote, the different SummerSlams. And then, of course, it's like, if you watch this, you might also like this. And I never realized how much the Ultimate Warrior was featured, was such a big name for WWE, back then.
He was
Huge.
the one guy of that era that Vince booked to win clean over Hogan. Like nobody else did that. Like it happened later in his career, but like during that height of Hulkamania,
yeah,
I think Vince really wanted to pass the torch on to Ultimate Warrior, and it just didn't work out But yeah,
wow, amazing.
Yeah, but it was cool to see him and him running down and shaking like.
Oh, the classic Ultimate Warrior, and like they were saying, the announcers, like he would just get himself so gassed. And then the fact that he did it again in the middle of the match, you know what I mean? He starts shaking the ropes and
the Warrior Wildness, is that what he called it? The Wildness? I can't remember what he called it. I remember Hulk would call it Hulkamania or hulking up, but
yeah.
So that was interesting. We had this match and it was it was a pretty decent match. I mean, you can't really judge matches of this era by today's standards, but like it's Macho Man. Like Macho Man's just like the best guy of that era, and I'm always gonna love him. Yeah,
such an icon. Him and Hulk Hogan were just incredible.
Yeah, and Ric Flair. I love Ric Flair. What? I can't even.
He's so over the top.
Woo!
Yes, so over the top. Yeah, what'd you think of Ric Flair? Although you've seen Ric Flair.
Yeah. That's Ric Flair. He's just doing him.
Yeah, and you've seen Macho, and you've probably seen Ultimate Warrior and all that stuff. Yeah.
That WWF run that he did, like early '90s. I know I'm biased because I grew up with WWF, but I think it's his best work of his career.
I never understood Ultimate Warrior. I thought it was a dumb gimmick.
Oh,
I wasn't there for it, right? So I've gone back and watch it.
No, I'm with you.
Yeah, that's like me with Kenny Omega. Like I don't understand.
Trust me, bro, no one does.
I just don't get it. I mean, I do. Kenny Omega's great, but like, he's like this legend, and then he's just getting stabbed with a screwdriver every week. But Ultimate Warrior, I know what you're saying, Tex, but like I was obsessed with Ultimate Warrior. Like I was obsessed with it.
And there was a lot of people that were.
Yeah, he was huge. And you're right, Boots. Like seeing him shake the ropes again, man, I just like, oh my gosh. Like it was great seeing him again.
And that he sprint, it was so funny because it's Wembley, like it's this massive stadium, because he always sprints out to the ring.
Yeah.
So he's just, I think we said
a
few episodes ago, he like, there must be a line of Coke right behind that curtain. He's just
right on the way. Exactly. It's awesome. So
yeah, interesting choice. I ultimately agree with it that they booked the Intercontinental match as the main event. I'm a strong believer that in a perfect world, the heavyweight title is the final match, but you should always book the biggest match to be last, no matter what it is. That takes precedence. So that was good. But here's something that's weird. In between the World Championship and the Intercontinental Championship, we have Undertaker versus Kamala.
Yeah.
I loved it. I love big men slapping man meat.
Yes, right.
I loved it. I love Undertaker came out in a hearse in the back of it. It was great. I thought you see the casket, and I was like, well, they're definitely going to use that. They never did. They never brought it up again.
They don't need it.
I didn't even see where the car went. Was the car there the whole time, or did they just kind of back
it
out once the match started?
Well, that's a great question.
It's like when I took... Oh, God damn it. You guys can still hear me, but I just knocked my headphones out. Is it like when they... when I took that picture of all those...
I'm so sorry.
When all those cups fell?
Right. And they were picking everything up. Yeah, exactly.
They picked it up and took it out.
I'm sorry if I spoke over you guys. I lost my headphones for a sec there.
You just ruined the show.
It's fine.
I liked it because it's like Undertaker. you're gonna do stuff for about 8 minutes, and then you're just gonna chase this guy out of the room. Perfect.
Yeah, this was a disqualification. Was this a count out as well? No, the manager got involved.
Yeah.
Yes, that's
Harvey
right.
Whippleman.
Yep.
Who is the manager of Kamala? What?
It's a strange, interesting choice.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then Ultimate Warrior did the classic thing where he's knocked out, right? He's completely on his back. He's been like body slammed like 20 times. He's been like slammed, and then he does the dong, like the sit up. You know what I mean? Amazing.
Yeah. And then so I mean, it's an interesting idea, like this fun little match with, I mean, Undertaker is like this huge name, and he's like this weird anomaly for 2 decades in WWE lore where he kind of like transcends the title scene. Like sometimes he's in it, sometimes he's not, but he's always at the top of the card, regardless of whether or not he's actually going for a belt or not. So,
well, I'm curious.
He's the GOAT.
So this was 92. I looked it up that Undertaker joined WWE in 1990. So this is 2 years in. Now, there's that classic shot of Undertaker that everybody knows where his face is at camera and he's holding some wrestler down and he rolls his eyes back in his head right to the camera lens. This famous shot of Undertaker, to which I've heard behind the scenes that he just did it in the moment. That wasn't like a planned thing. That was just something that he did. When did that happen early on? Did you guys have any idea when that occurred?
As long as I've thought of The Undertaker, I've thought of him doing that because he does that whenever he pins somebody.
Yeah, I don't know when it officially started, but it was early.
But this was the first iteration of him, right? The first version of him was the black outfit with the gray gloves and the gray like boot covers. Like this was the first version of him for sure, with Paul Bearer there.
Yes.
No, Paul Bearer is so great.
Undertaker.
I love Paul Bear's. He's top 5 managers of all time.
Are you sure that's not Paul Heyman in makeup? Are you sure?
It's definitely not.
He's got Paul Heyman vibes for sure.
Yeah,
we can agree on that, right?
Yeah, I'll give you that. The vibes.
I mean, he's being kind of. Well, I can't think of the word. Just because we're chunky fellas doesn't mean we all look alike.
No, that's not what I'm saying. It's not like the vibe. You know what I mean?
You know, like, I'm going bald. Does that mean I look like Paul Heyman?
Yes, you do. That's exactly what I'm saying. You look exactly like Paul Heyman. Yes.
I think that's a compliment. Thank you.
No problem. My chief, my tribal chief.
My tribal chief. Yes, my tribal chief. No, my tribal chief. Okay. Main event, Intercontinental Championship, the best version of the Intercontinental Championship. You could argue maybe with the white back is good too, but that's essentially the same belt. They just and it's Bret Hart and it's Davey Boy Smith and their real life brother-in-laws, and they play that up as part of the match, which I thought was super interesting because this is from an era where they don't really dip into reality, you know? Like they don't really play that game. But they did here, to the point that they actually carted out his wife, who like was just clearly like, this is his wife who doesn't do this for a living. And
yeah, British Bulldog's wife.
Yeah, and we're gonna interview her and we're gonna show shots of her during the match, and it must have been a surreal experience for her. Like she grew up in a wrestling family, so it wasn't totally foreign to her, but like this idea that like, yeah, hey, so we want you to be on TV for the Wembley fight. Like, we want to interview you and then, like, show your face. And then at the end, we want you to actually come in the ring. And, like, that's such a crazy...
And hug everyone. And, like she was a major part of it.
Yeah.
They had the pre-interview, and she talked about how scared she was for both her husband and her brother-in-law. So, for those that don't know, she's the wife of British Bulldog and the sister, right, of Bret the Hitman Hart.
Yeah.
So this was like a big deal. So they brought her on, like, so before the match, they interview her, like, what are you feeling? And she's like, I'm just so scared. I'm so nervous for both my husband, but also my brother. And she did an okay job. She didn't do that bad. You know what I mean?
I'm not taking a dump on what she did, but by
of course.
Any stretch, but yeah.
Yeah. And then at the end of the match, she came into the ring and hugged both of them, and the crowd went wild. And it was pretty awesome. What were you saying, Ted?
All I'm going to say is, if she was in AEW, she would have been a star. But with those mic skills.
Oh, jeez. All right. Well, you're saying that all the screaming was good. Back in the WWE days.
Hey,
it was
she
good.
didn't scream. That's the only thing I appreciated.
That's true. That's true.
Man, so this was a good match. This is a really good match, and
Great
I mean,
match.
these guys are both from the same training, so they know each other in and out. They're family. They both trained under Brett's dad. They both trained like this whole like really like we're gonna tell a very subtle story through the ring psychology. Like they're from that school, and they put on a great show doing that style of wrestling, as they both were very good at their entire career.
Now, from what I know, this match, Davey Boy Smith got into the ring and didn't remember anything to do with the match. So this is all Bret Hart.
So Brett called the match. So I was told by my friend Steve, who is the guy that got me back into wrestling and went to
Shout out,
SmackDown
Steve.
with me. I won't give his last name just in case.
What up, Steve?
But
Yeah.
Steve tells me, and I don't know where he gets this information from, other than he's very knowledgeable about wrestling. But he tells me that Davey Boy Smith was blitzed out of his mind for the entire match.
Yep.
Like
Now, this is British Bulldog.
yeah.
For those wondering, that's British Bulldog.
Sorry, British Bulldog Davey Boy Smith was drugged to high heaven for the entire match.
Evidently, this whole summer, Bret kept calling him like, "Hey, let's work on this match a little bit," but he never could answer him because he was too high with Jimmy Neidhart. They were just this whole summer just blacked out.
Wow.
And I was kind of looking for that, and I thought for a guy blitzed out of his mind, he put on a hell of a show.
Pretty good.
But if he's got the instincts and he's got Bret Hart whispering in his ear what to do the whole time, I could see how he could put on a good show. The only time that I sort of thought I think Steve might be right was at the end, during the emotional end, when the wife comes in and everything, and he's hugging her, and he's just the whole time like,
right.
just like he looks like he just like deer in the headlights the whole time. Like,
Yeah, mouth agape.
He's
right.
not smiling. He's not crying. He's not just like.
He's like, what happened? What just happened?
Which, I mean, let's face it, if you're blitzed out of your mind, it's got to be pretty crazy to just like be in front of 80,000 people and not have any idea what's going on.
Yeah. Yeah. And I will say, man, I'm so looking forward to watching this AEW in that stadium. The sound of the crowd, so many people screaming. It was unbelievable, that crowd.
Yeah. No, it's going to be good.
Now, speaking of Dave Boy Smith, he was another guy that left the company in 3 months.
Oh, he was one of them, but he came
You're
back, right?
Kidding.
I think he did later,
Because
but
wasn't he in the Hart Foundation stable in the Attitude Era?
All I remember is him and someone else bought a whole bunch of HGH in England, and Vince found out.
Oh, so he fired him for drugs?
Yeah.
Human
You know the other
growth
guy?
hormone?
Who else would have bought it? This is pretty good, easy answer.
Ultimate Warrior.
There you go. There's the third one.
Ultimate Warrior was out in
my
3 months after this?
Yeah. Same reason.
No,
for drugs.
HGH.
You're kidding. Wow.
You'll never guess what the fourth guy was out for.
Oh, wait. Okay, well, let's go through who you've revealed to us so far. You revealed British Bulldog and Ultimate Warrior, two that I never would have guessed.
Yeah.
And what was the third one you said to it? Was it Virgil?
No, it was Nails.
It was Nails, right, for choking out Vince.
Nails, right. Yes.
Right. So forgettable. I forgot about him already.
Exactly. Nails. Nailed it. Yes.
I mean, okay. Who's the last guy? We know it's not Crush.
Yeah.
So this guy failed a drug test before the show. And Vince realized on the show that he was high and didn't even let him get back on the plane. He left them in London.
But he wrestled his match?
He wrestled his match, and at the end of it, Vince's like, you ain't coming back with us.
Oh, man. Okay, who looked... It's not like one of the Beverly Brothers, is it?
No.
Okay.
It's actually a pretty big name.
Is it Rick Martel?
No.
Good guess. Good guess.
I'll give you one more guess.
I I have one more guess. Do we each get one? Let's each give one more guess.
One more.
But don't
Okay.
tell us if either of us are right till we both guess.
Okay.
All right.
I'm going to guess Mr. Perfect, Kurt Hennig.
That's a good guess.
I'm gonna guess the Ted DiBiase.
That's a good guess. It was Hawk.
Hawk from Legion of Doom?
Yep. This would have been his.
I'm staying here.
This was his third failed drug test, and Vince realized it in the match that he was.
And this
He
is
was
why
high?
they didn't, because they did kind of just disappear from WWF one day.
Yeah, and I think Animal and him broke apart for like years after this.
Really?
Yeah,
Right, because there was another guy, right? Wait, was it Crush? No, it wasn't Crush.
this was way longer. This
Okay.
is after you're talking about after Hawk died. It was it's
Draws.
like the Russian guy.
Draws.
I don't remember his name. He was a Russian guy.
No, but I think it was Draws. Like Iron Grudge in the chat is saying Draws. I think it was
Oh,
Draws. I remember Draws.
Russian guy.
Zangief. It was Zangief.
Zangief, yeah. Good.
No, that's Street
No, I was
Fighter
wondering-
2.
Actually, we have this guy Iron Grudge who's in our chat most of the time, and he's got an encyclopedic knowledge of wrestling, so it's pretty handy. Was Crush. So we saw Crush as like Hawaiian muscly Dave Coulier, but is he the same Crush that goes on to join what's that other tag team? Demolition? It was Axe and Smash, and later they added Crush. It is the same guy.
Yes.
Crush was the third guy in Demolition.
I remember he had a black. He went to like a black outfit. If I remember.
Yeah, because
correctly.
Demolition was all they wore like leather daddy outfits. Like yeah, interesting. Well, that's a good repackaging.
Repo Man was
Repo Man was
Smash from
Smash?
Demolition.
What?
Wow.
What? All right, this is insane. What is going
I
on?
have to rethink my worldview now.
Yeah, this is unbelievable. Repo Man.
We got to do an entire show on Repo Man at some point.
Oh yes. He should be in the Hall of Fame.
Yes. Clearly. I mean, he had the Hamburglar, bandit glasses on.
Oh, good.
He's got
Right.
tire tread on his shoulders. Did you notice that? Like they cut a piece off of a tire and just
Right. It's the Repo Man.
Repo Man.
Yeah.
And I love that he always
Robble,
does
right.
this kind of like sneaky type of.
Yes. He's very animated the way he's,
Yes.
ooh,
He's flowy.
he was.
All right. Well, hell, that was a good show. That was a good.
Amazing.
I'm glad we did this. I want to do more of this. I'm not sure what our cadence should be for these retro shows, but like some of these will be easy, right? Like when Royal Rumble comes around, let's go look at an old Royal Rumble, and we can do the
100%.
same with WrestleMania. But we'll find reasons to do this. And if you guys can think of like kind of some iconic pay-per-views that we should absolutely watch, please email them to us because we have our own sense of what some of them are. But I would love to know if like maybe unbeknownst to me, like there's a certain WrestleMania of the Ruthless Aggression era, which I did not watch, that is like a must see. I would love to know about that kind of thing. So,
Well, I'll tell you, for me personally, some wrestlers, because I didn't watch the Attitude Era, I've never seen Dave Bautista wrestle.
Oh, so
he's
good.
more of a Ruthless Aggression guy, but still, yeah.
I've never seen Batista. I've really never really seen The Rock, hardly at all.
So I'm going to submit.
I've never really seen John Cena wrestle. I only know these guys from, who they are now, but I've never seen them really as wrestlers.
I don't know if it would hold up to today, but I'm going to just plant the seed. When WrestleMania does roll around, I would like for us to review WrestleMania 14, which as a young person, when I was like a teenager, I said, this is the best WrestleMania ever. So I'd like to
Wow.
revisit it and see what I think
What's
about
the
it
main
today.
event? Which one is that one?
That is Stone Cold Steve Austin challenging Shawn Michaels for the championship.
Okay, yeah.
Oh, Shawn Michaels. There
And
he is
it's- and it's
again.
when
There it is
Undertaker
again.
finally wrestled Kane.
Oh, can we just do that whole build up?
I
The
mean, that would
whole
be fun.
Kane Undertaker build up. Oh, so good.
That would be fun. Okay. Well, speaking of emails, hey guys, we got an email.
Woo!
We got an email
not
from.
live.
I'm not sure if he wants us to say his name, so I'm just gonna say Jake emailed us. But he emailed us, loving the show so far. The dynamic between the three of you makes for great content, even if Tex wears those rose-colored WWE glasses. I went ahead and made the unofficial Wrestling is for Losers bingo card, and I'm sure more can be added, but these are my favorites. And if I could draw your attention, if you're watching the video, I'm going to pop it up right there. It's kind of covering part of our faces. But Jake made this bingo card.
Amazing.
Wrestling is for Losers, and it's got 9... Boots is Canadian reference. Tex makes wild prediction that isn't Orton. A separate item, Randy Orton will interfere. Boots fixes the Bloodline storyline. Ticket sales are discussed. One just says, yeah. When big name shows up that Colt doesn't know.
Correct.
Like that one.
Absolutely correct.
Yeah. WWE Shield Tex shows his bias. And finally, Cody should have won the belt. Guys, I screwed up. I could have just used this as my moment to say Cody should have won the belt. I didn't have to bring it up earlier.
Right.
I'm pretty sure we got a bingo tonight.
We definitely got a bingo. Definitely got a bingo. Amazing. That bingo card. Oh my gosh. When Boots shared that, everybody lost it. So thank you so much. That's hilarious.
Thanks for sending that. Really appreciate it. Folks, if you want to send an email to us, you can email wrestlinglosers@gmail.com, or you can hit me up on the X. You can X me at the Shoe Boots, and I will read your X. And I will re-exit. I like it, but I think we'll try to respond to any messages we get, folks. Next week, Coltrane, you will be away from us. Sadly, it'll be our first Coltrane-less show. So
yes. I will be on vacation. I will be in Scotland, so I'm looking forward to it. Should be fun.
He's scouting Drew McIntyre and all the rumors that he might go to AEW. So we'll see.
Yes, exactly. I'll be at the front lines. My microphone will be right. I'll be interviewing him. It's going to be great. Actually, none of that will be happening, but I will be. I'll be drinking lots of whiskey and scotch, and should be a good time.
So I mean, I would love to do a scotch tour. That sounds awesome. I'm a novice scotch drinker, but I feel like I know enough to BS my way around. That would be really fun. I'm really jealous of that part of the trip. Here's what I would love to see though. You tell me. You'll have to keep an eye out. Do they sell Braveheart swords to tourists? That's what I want to know.
Right.
Like if you're walking around, and someone's selling you like a $500 replica of Braveheart's sword.
Yes. Well, I am actually going to the William Wallace museum thing that they have there. It's this huge tower dedicated to William Wallace. So I'll see if they have any 6-foot swords for sale. And if so, I could just bring it back on the plane. I'm sure I could just check it. Yeah, it'll be no problem. Yeah, I'll bring it back. No problem at all.
The overhead.
Yeah, it should be fine. I'll just put it in the aisle, along the aisle on the floor. I doubt they'll have a problem with that. So we'll be good.
Just knock on the pilot cabin. Just the
with the tip. Ting ting ting.
I can't fit this under my seat. Do you guys mind?
Right. Maybe in between your shoulders, like long wise. Right. Be perfect.
So we're gonna I'm gonna announce it. I meant to confirm this before the show, but I've kind of soft confirmed it during the show, multitasking. But my good buddy and former co-host of another podcast / web show, True Villain Manny, is gonna join us and give some opinions. And yeah,
great guy, amazing.
We're gonna talk All In. We're gonna maybe get to know what Manny. I know Manny is a wrestling fan who has put it down at certain points. I'm interested to know where he's at these days. But yeah, that'll be fun. And we'll go from there. But anyways, that's gonna do it for us. Awesome episode, guys, and have a great trip, Colt.
Thank you, buddy. Appreciate it.
Oh yes.
For me, for Colt, and for Tex. Later, losers.